Good evening, Arkhamites, and welcome to a brand new episode of Arkham Archives, your weekly podcast on all things Batwoman. My name is Inês, and I'll be your host for today. Joining me are fellow Arkham prisoners Fran and Anna.
Hello!
Hi!
Who are dying to spill their guts, hopefully not literally, about Loose Tooth, this week's Killer Croc-centric episode. As many of you might be aware, a lot has come out this week regarding the circumstances that surrounded Ruby Rose's departure from Batwoman. And while we understand you might have been looking forward to some gossip on the matter, we've decided not to comment on what's happened, as we feel we don't have enough information to talk about such a serious topic. With that being said, though, we want to clarify that our position as a group has always been and continues to be to support better working conditions for anyone who works in potentially unsafe environments in order to bring us all these entertainment pieces that have been so important to our relationship as friends and our growth as individuals. And we hope to see these people achieve the goals they've set through their ongoing strikes. Now that that's been dealt with, let's sink our teeth into this episode. That brings me to our first talking point of the day, Luke and Mary's budding relationship.
Ooh.
Even though we've all been a part of Team Hamill-Fox, I think it's safe to say the show has never really leaned into it quite like they did with this episode. I know for a fact Fran, specifically, has been looking forward to this for quite some time, so how has it made you feel?
I thought it was really funny, actually, because we just mentioned this last week about how I am the self-proclaimed Luke Mary enthusiast of our group, and about how much I want them to be together. And I've been shipping them since season 1. And one of our listeners, who's also a contributor and a designer for our socials and our podcast, thank you. But she did say that she doesn't see them as anything more than friends. And I was like, okay, are we watching the same show? and then the show specifically said, she's right, aka me, I am right. And they are into each other. And I thought, obviously, my notes app on my phone was just a keyboard smash. And
of course.
Followed by, I won. I really won. I mean,
Yeah.
I was obviously not in my right mind when that scene was happening. But I was just like, finally, because the tension between them, like the romantic tension, there hasn't been a lot of sexual tension. But there's always been, I feel like, so much potential for them as a couple. And the thing that set it off for Mary was seeing Luke shirtless, which that was really funny. I love that that's the route that they decided to go for, the like horny route, which I'm all for. And I think it's going to be sort of a like, okay, I'm super attracted to him physically, and now I'm realizing that I've always been into him romantically. I think that's how it's going to be. But judging by Luke's extra reaction, bodily reaction, I'm guessing we're going to have the reveal that he's been into Mary all along, because that wasn't just like a, oh my god, you're so hot, the way Mary was feeling about him. That was a like, oh my god, the girl I've had a crush on for 2 years or 3 years is all over my body. So I was obviously very happy. I loved their scenes. I loved that they had like the comedic element of Mary being all hot and bothered. And then the really soft moment of them opening up to each other, which I was really happy about, because I did think that their secrets were going to be kept. And the show completely went in a different direction. So I'm happy about it. I love being surprised. I love that they're sharing. I think it's going to bring them together.
Yay.
And the psychological pain of Luke's bullet made a lot of sense to me. I like that Mary, as a doctor, is helping him out, because he's also very intelligent, but I don't think he's emotionally intelligent sometimes. And Mary's the opposite. She's such an empathic person. And I think they're the perfect match, really. And I'm so excited to see their relationship blossom in that sense, and not just as teammates, but as friends and eventually as lovers, because that's obviously going to happen. Thankfully, finally. I've always compared them to a different ship in a different superhero show, which is Fitzsimmons, Leo Fitz, and Gemma Simmons in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. which is one of my favorite couples of all time. And they did have more like romantic hints throughout, but I think they only got together, not even season 3, maybe like end of season 3. So this was kind of the slow build that I was expecting, with a little bit more maybe, but still, like, the pacing is perfect for me. I love a slow burn, and this season is going to be so exciting for them. I hope that they really commit to their relationship, because it's one of those that has like a really long future, because I think they can really be the couple of the show. But I won. Sorry to our designer, but I won.
Batwoman really said friend rights this episode. It
said Inês rights and Anna rights as well, because you guys got your Wild Moor, but we're going to talk about that
exactly
later. But we all won. We all won this week.
I mean, I was just going to say, I mean, do we ever really lose with Batwoman?
I mean, I've taken some losses, but that's neither here or there. Anna, go on. What did you think about Luke and Mary?
I was saying it was specifically a win for you because you lost Kate and Sophie last season.
Yeah.
So they really said, okay, Fran needs one of her ships to work out. Let's give her this.
Thank you, Batwoman writers.
No, but about Mary and Luke, I loved it. Like, I think it was a scene that could be cheesy, but I was so into it. I was like, yes, this is fun. Like, yeah, it's a bit cheesy, but I think we've been waiting for it for a long time. And I really like scenes in television where you get the sudden realization that they're into each other. So, yeah, I liked it.
And I mean, I think it worked out well because it wasn't like the stereotypical hot scene, you know. They were both very awkward about it.
Yeah.
And that element to their relationship makes it all the more fun to me as a viewer personally.
I thought that it was... I always love the trope of the nerdy boy who takes his shirt off and he's a hot piece. I'm always like all for that. So I thought it was really cool because obviously Luke is always in his suit and he always looks very dapper and you can tell that he's fit. But I guess Mary never saw him that way because he's just not typically a hot guy. But he's very attractive. He's into his body, and I think that's something Mary values because she loves fashion and she loves looking good.
Yeah.
So I think they're gonna be the hottest couple ever, really, together.
I mean, at least the best dressed.
Yeah, because you know he's gonna get a makeover. Like he's still gonna wear his suits, but he's gonna wear like hot suits now. It's gonna be like high-end fashion kind of thing.
Mari is gonna be the girlfriend that's like, if we're dating, you have to look the part.
Exactly. I cannot wait till their first dinner date and Mary like looks like a knockout, as she always does. I'm always glued to the screen when Mary's on, and then she's gonna like make Luke look really hot, and they're gonna go out together, and I'm gonna be drooling.
Moving on to the villain for this episode, do you think there was a solid justification for Killer Croc 2.0 and how he came about? What did you think of him as the bad guy of the week?
I really liked, first of all, the CGI was really good with Killer Croc. I wasn't expecting it. I think it was like Suicide Squad almost levels of CGI for a CW. It was really cool. His storyline was a bit heartbreaking though. Like, when his dad wants to save him and then he's still a monster after all and he ends up killing his father. That was a bit heartbreaking.
I really liked the fact that they used it as an infection. I thought that worked really well. And the whole thing about him being infected by the tooth also worked really well. It was just one more villain for me. I'm not as into the lore, the DC lore, as other fans of the show might be. These episodes that have like a one episode arc that is finished within the episode are fun. You get to have some fun, and they are used to bring up other traits in the main characters, and it's always nice. But really, I just thought it was another villain. But it was cool. I liked it. I liked that they gave it a human feel with his dad. It worked. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of human, I feel like we need to rehash last week's conversation about Alice. We've talked about how she seems to be constantly teetering on the edge of redemption without the characters actually acknowledging it. But I personally feel this episode was a huge cop out where the writers are concerned. I mean, we had Alice go on that whole thing about not wanting to let the little girl down the way that the world let her down, basically. But in the end, Alice didn't come through. And even though she absolutely could have had, and despite the episode having several instances where it was clear that Alice cared for people and wanted to help them, it frustrated me a lot. And since we save all conversations about this episode for the podcast, I want to know what's your stance on Alice this week.
I didn't dislike it because I think it's a continuation of what I said last week, that they want to show her that she hit her rock bottom, so she's really evil, if you want to say it like that. So, but I really think in her mind she thought she was doing the right thing. She really thought she was teaching her a lesson and that she would be stronger for it. What I hope we get is we get some development during the season, and it's not just a constant of showing, oh, Alice is evil, oh, Alice is not gonna get a redemption. Like, I get that they need to do this in the first episode, so I was okay with it, but I really hope we progress from here.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I thought the moment where she tells Ryan, that little girl is me, and I'm not gonna let the world treat her the way I was treated, kind of thing. That was weirder to me in a sort of pacing and the pacing of the scene itself. Like, it felt so dramatic all of a sudden. It just wasn't working. So for me, for that to be fake works a lot more than for those to be real emotions. Because if they had been real emotions, I thought it would have been like bad acting. But it was fake all along. Or kind of fake, really. She never intended to save her, I guess. And it works better for me that it had been like half fake. I think it was half fake. Because she was so dramatic. I think she wanted to sell a story to Ryan. And that works better in terms of acting, in terms of writing, for her to have left the girl. Had she saved her, then I thought it would have been a lot soapy, a lot dramatic, and I wouldn't have liked it as much. Like, it would have been like, oh, okay. But this way it was more fun. It was more like, yikes, and she's terrible, and I love her. And I love watching Alice. Like, she's always the heart and soul of the episodes.
Yeah, I mean, she's a wild card. I guess what I meant with my question/statement was that, like you said, it felt weird for this to be happening right now, kind of, because it's like the perfect situation for Alice to redeem herself, because she sees herself in that person, she wants to help, yada yada. And it felt kind of weird because if the writers are planning on giving her some redemption along the way, wouldn't this particular scenario be more appropriate towards the getting to that redemption, Like, it felt like Alice could go somewhere this episode, but then it didn't. And I'm wondering, when are they gonna create such an opportunity again where it could have been quite natural for Alice to actually help the team?
I think that was the point, that you're rooting for her so much, and you think she's going to be like the old Alice, that at the last moment she's going to do the right thing. But no, they want to show you that she's in a really bad place. So I think the redemption makes sense at the end of the season, or mid-season at least. And now it's too soon for that.
For me, I was never into the whole redemption thing with the girl from the start, because it felt fake, it felt forced. It just wasn't working for me. So when we realized that she never really meant it, I was like, okay, now that makes sense. Because the show can be, like, the writing in the show can be a little dramatic and in your face all the time. Like, it's not very nuanced. We've talked about this. It's been like this in season 1. With emotions and emotional scenes, it's always very, like, a moment. But with Alice, it's never really been like that. It's always been very grounded, but I think because Rachel is such a great actress. And that scene was just like, I don't like this. Like why she's getting like tears in her eyes, and it was just all a bit extra. And then I was like, oh, she was playing Ryan. Now that's my girl. Now that makes a lot more sense. So for me, it worked. I guess obviously it was like, yikes, Alice. Like it was hurt. It hurt to watch her leave the girl, but it was a better storyline in terms of writing and acting and all of that.
Yeah, for sure. And I did quite enjoy the moments scattered through the episode that seemed to draw comparisons between Alice and Ryan's lives. And I have this little theory that Alice might have found out about Ryan's biological mother as her own twisted way to apologize for the role she played in what happened to her adoptive mother. So what do you think about that? And is there any hope for the two of them to ever get along?
See, now that would be a lot more Alice. To go through, to do it more secretly, to not show her emotions that openly, and not make it clear that she's helping Ryan because she kind of cares and she wants to redo her wrongs or rewrite her wrongs. Like, that is a lot more Alice than just straight up say, that little girl was me and I'm never letting anyone do to her what they did to me. Like, I think you might be onto something, and that would work really well for Alice. And then I just thought it was hilarious when she made a joke about her mother being left without a head. Like, I laughed out loud. So fucking dark, but so fucking funny. I love Alice. She was great in this episode.
I love Alice because she's such a character that you never trust, but then she says the most hilarious dark things, but you're also rooting for her. Like, she's so complex. That's why she's my favorite every episode. Like, I always have fun. If she's emotional or dark, I'm like, yeah, you're good.
Yeah. I think that's a lot of props to Rachel. She's amazing in that role.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, we've always liked her as an actress, and she's been helping to carry this show along, And I think the producers and the writers acknowledge that, because they could have easily gotten rid of Alice as a character after Kate was gone.
Mm-hmm.
But they know they shouldn't, They got a cash cow in there. And if Alice leaves, I suspect a lot of people would leave with her.
The show would become the show would become a lot more bland. But we did talk about how the fact that they both grew up without moms, although Ryan was her whole life and Alice was just after she was 13, because it's always about Jacob. But it could be cool to go into the mom side of Alice's story, because we haven't seen much of that. So yeah, I'm hoping they go through with it and that they keep talking about their moms together and stuff. That would be cool.
Yeah, they did talk about it a little bit this episode, but as you said, it was in a Alice is being fake way to try to get what she wants, but I hope we get some nice moments where she opens up a bit.
Mm-hmm. So, speaking of Ryan's biomom, this episode put Ryan face to face with this woman she never met, and the show isn't holding back on getting this storyline to move along. I mean, I can't speak for anyone else, but I sure wasn't expecting Sophie to put Ryan up to speed like that, and for this information to be available, to be made available to our hero. I also wasn't expecting that final confrontation she had with Jada. I didn't expect it to happen already. So what are your first impressions of Ryan's mom, and what are you expecting out of this storyline?
I was waiting to talk to you in this episode because I'm a bit confused about Jada, because it sounds like she wants to take Wayne Enterprises, like she's really interested in the company. But we never really got any hints throughout Batwoman, the show, that Wayne Enterprises is something to take. Like, I don't know. It felt a bit confusing if our motives are really just to take the company, or if that's a fake out. I don't know.
I actually have no idea.
No, I felt the same way when she showed up in the helicopter, and she she said that thing about there being a security breach and stuff, it felt a bit out of a sudden. But I felt like what I expected to happen was that she knew Ryan, and she knew, like, she had been tracking her life all along.
Exactly.
Like, she knew, even though she gave her up. Maybe she kept in contact and she knew, like, what she's been up to, and she knows that she's been there now. Blah, blah, blah. That's what I expected. Maybe that will be really revealed eventually, but I don't know.
Yeah, that makes more sense than her just going there randomly to take back the company.
Mm-hmm. I feel that that possibility hasn't been ruled out entirely, because in the previous episode, we know that Jada is back not because of a security breach on the company side, because her assistant in the last episode did tell her that the security breach was about something personal to her. So my assumption is that she does know who Ryan is and was just, playing it off.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think so too, actually.
I do think she has some interest in Wayne Enterprises, especially now with Bruce being gone for a long time. Kate is God knows where. So the company is kind of vulnerable. And I think she's going to try to capitalize on that one way or the other.
I hope she's not ruthless to the point of using Ryan to get to Wayne Enterprises, 'cause that would be really sad. Because she has made it a point, like, her whole character is take what's hers and look at any cost. So that would be in line with what we know about her character so far, for her to grow close to Ryan and then steal the company from under her. And obviously Ryan is not even from the family, so that would create a lot of problems, and it could be cool, also heartbreaking. But I also obviously agree with being very surprised with the amount of information that was revealed already. I did not expect, first off, for Sophie to tell Ryan that Jada was her mom right off the bat, and then obviously I did not expect the episode to end with the big reveal of Ryan telling Jada, "I'm your daughter."
And I also wanted to mention that they said Ryan now is the CEO in charge, something like that. I think it's another
acting
title.
CEO.
Acting CEO, exactly. And I thought that was curious because Luke is literally from the family of Bruce.
Right.
Why is it not him? Or also Mary also has connections with the family? And
that's so true.
Yeah, I thought, okay, it's just because she's Batwoman.
I guess whoever wears the suit gets to own or rule Wayne Enterprises.
Yeah, I guess.
But yeah, I hadn't thought about that. But yeah, it's stupid because Mary's literally in the family, and then Luke, obviously, the son of Lucius.
Exactly.
I mean, typical of Kate Kane to leave and say, fuck Luke and Mary's lives,
Oh.
They got enough going on.
Oh, come on. Come on. How is that typical of Kate?
Oh, no.
If we were talking about Alice, sure, but she's always been a nice friend to Luke and Mary.
I mean, the beginning of her storyline with Mary was a little shaky, exactly because Kate, overlooks some stuff. So I wouldn't put it past her. But I mean, she also could have been, charitable in the sense that, Ryan needs money, so let's put her in this important position because Luke and Mary are well off anyway. I don't know. I'm gonna give her the benefit of
that's
doubt.
True. That's a good reason. I'll take it.
I don't think the writers thought about that. I think they just were like, she's wearing the suit, so she's the CEO.
Exactly.
I think we're overthinking it, but it's fun.
Exactly.
And then I guess if they do the storyline of her mom using her to get the company, it wouldn't work if she wasn't CEO. If she wasn't employed, or if she was just an employee at the company, she wouldn't have the power to give things away.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it was just a plot point for her to be CEO so that it can be used by her mom.
Yeah, I mean, it's convenient, you know. We're
It's
definitely reading too much into it. Exactly.
Yeah,
I mean,
it makes sense.
It's just fun. CW shows. Why wouldn't you?
And Ryan Ryan looks very hot in CEO outfits.
We need to talk about
she wants
that.
to be CEO all the time. I'm all for it.
Yeah, I approve.
Ryan is on her Lena Luthor era. Actually.
Yes, when she came in that last dress, my jaw dropped, like physically. I was like, damn.
Exactly. I mean, if we weren't looking before.
Yeah. I mean, I love her whole lesbian, checkered shirt, flannel shirt kind of thing. Like, I'm all for it. But her in that dress got me, for sure.
Many thoughts, many thoughts. As a side note, I couldn't help but notice Jada mentioned Bruce basically stole one of her best employees. And I have a strong feeling that might have been Lucius Fox.
Yeah.
If that's the case, do you think Luke's story as Batwing will be intertwined with the Jets somehow?
I don't really know if that's a thing. Like, initially, I thought it might have something to do with Luke's mom, but I don't know. I think it might be too complicated to go into that. But maybe an affair, maybe it's gonna spoil Luke's vision of his dad as like this whole god person. I don't know. But it's obviously Lucius. I think we all thought about Lucius when she said that. Like, who else can it be? It would have to be like an unknown employee if it wasn't Lucius, and then it would be kind of boring. So it's definitely Lucius, and then I don't know.
Yeah, I agree that it's probably something that's gonna reveal information about his dad that he doesn't know, and it's gonna play a part because obviously Luke's storyline revolves a lot around his father this season, so it makes sense.
Mm-hmm. I also think, all this secret keeping and with Alice being a part of the team and sort of creating tension there, I think there might be a point in this season where the characters almost go their own way, like some disagreement between them leads to a split in the team. That's my idea, at least. And, Luke could go to the competition, kind of. And the Jets, with them being also in the industry of nanotech, I think was what Sophie referred to in this episode when she.
So Jada would do a reverse. Mm-hmm. She would be like, they stole Lucius from me, and I'm gonna steal Luke from them because I believe Luke.
Oh, that's
Luke
so
might
interesting.
be an even better employee, and like he might be even better at his job than his dad was. Like, he's amazing. So that would be cool.
Yeah, and I mean, Luke with the Batwing suit, they might have some interest in that, because that's quite the feat. Mm-hmm. And it could be fun because it obviously would backfire on Luke for trusting them. I think they.
So Jada could be the real villain without any superpowers, but just be like a nasty person who uses Ryan to get to Wayne Enterprises, and then uses Luke to get to Batwing, and this entire thing, she could be revealed as the big villain this season. That would be awesome.
Yes, that would be amazing. Yeah, we're just used to villains with superpowers. So this would be interesting. I want some manipulation and some drama.
Yes, because season 1, big villain, Alice. Season 2, Snakebite storyline, Cersei, Black Mask. And then the occasional 1-episode arcs with small villains, right?
Yeah.
Am I missing something from season 2? The police and the crows.
And Sophia.
Yeah.
And Sophia, right. Sophia was season 2A was Sophia. Mm-hmm. Season 2B was Black Mask. And Snakebite. Yeah. And then season 3, they haven't revealed who the big villain is. They're just looking for the gallery weapon thing. So we need a villain, because there's always one big villain for one big storyline.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. They have the one villain per episode kind of formula, but we need a bigger villain.
Yeah.
I agree.
So might be Jada.
Nice.
And I mean, if there's something that we learn from Batman, is that sometimes money really is the biggest power, You don't need to have superpowers if you have all the money in the world. So, and I mean, that goes for supervillains. I had a comment
that I wrote down when I was watching the episode that came to my mind, but then I kind of scratched it. I thought, like, you would think in a city like Gotham, where's people that commit crimes and really bad crimes, and they're like supernatural and they're they're crocodiles and they're weird vampires and they fly and things, you would think that you wouldn't go to an abandoned pool in the middle of the night, like, just to joke around and then be like, oh, there's already one Aquaman. Yes, there's one Aquaman, which means there's a bunch of other things. Like, just stay in your homes. But then I kind of strike that comment because I thought, isn't that the world that we live in, regardless of whether there's people that mutate into crocodiles? Because I wouldn't go to an abandoned pool in a normal world without crocodiles, much less with crocodiles, so...
Exactly.
And they're teens and in love,
It's
so
true.
they're stupid.
But no, I think for sure power can be the biggest superpower, even in a world where people have flying and where people have, like, they shoot things and they can be crocodiles and they can be all these things. So that would be really cool and a really cool message.
I mean, I know you guys don't watch Supergirl, or Anna at least doesn't watch it anymore, but...
Disclaimer, I watched like one season
I watched 2
of it.
episodes.
Yeah. And I mean, I stopped watching it, but, what would be of Supergirl if not for Lena's, billions in making her a kryptonite suit, for example? Like, you can have all the superpower in the world, but sometimes money just speaks louder.
That would be a cool way for the show to go, for sure. Especially because Ryan, the daughter of someone who's that rich, grew up with nothing. And she's very vocal about that and about how unfair society is. So for the show to go that way, God knows I love and I'm all for those kinds of conversations. So yeah, eat the rich. That should be the whole season. We had ACAB season 2 and season 3 is the Eat the Rich season.
Exactly.
Eat the rich.
And I mean, also because class issues should, unite us more than anything else.
Exactly. And now, like we said, I think last episode, it's going to be interesting, the conversations that Ryan is going to have, knowing she could be born rich and how different she would be if she was born in that family.
They should have an alternative universe episode where her mom kept her and Ryan would be this really posh, annoying girl. Like her mom. But
with her horse.
Yeah, that could be fun. And it could actually be possible because we know we have a crossover coming up with The Flash. And Mr. Barry Allen is very known for disrupting the timeline of events.
Always.
So who knows? Maybe we can go there.
That would be fun. I feel like her and Mary would be either enemies or besties in like a Mean Girls show.
Oh, yeah.
In high school. They would go to the same private schools and they would be I think they would be rivals about who's the hotter, richer, with more followers on Instagram.
Definitely frenemies. Like they would pretend to be friends, but then actually they were trying to
and then
stop.
They make out.
Exactly. Perfect.
And then they make out in the locker room.
We can always
That's
dream.
it. That's the season.
So we were talking about Batwoman's Gallery of Rogues for this season, and I think it's worth mentioning that in this episode we found out that the vines Luke and Ryan retrieved last week were not the real deal. And Montoya knows about it. So it seems we are going to have kind of like a backstory on Montoya and Ivy, because she said she had seen Real Thing up close or something. So what do you make out of that?
I am excited because it seems like Poison Ivy is going to be the only one that's not a 2.0. She's going to be the OG, right?
Mm-hmm. I think so.
Okay, so that's cool. That's cool. And I think, haven't we mentioned her before when we're talking about how Alice walked over Cersei's dead body, and I think she mentioned Ivy then?
Yeah, there was a mention.
So there's backstory with everyone, and it's really cool that they're bringing the OG instead of the 2.0.
Yeah, and it's nice that Montoya is so terrified that she's coming back, Poison Ivy. So that brings some tension and some anticipation of what the character is going to be like. And I really like the build-up until we meet the actual character.
Yes, they're doing that so well.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, Montoya should be scared. I know you guys don't read comics, but Ivy's, I think, the only character that makes the Joker afraid. Yeah. In one of the comics, she actually
like that.
threatened his life pretty bad. So if Ivy can put the Joker to a corner, I think everyone should be a little intimidated. We've also had this conversation back when we were going through season 1, and I know you guys are dying to talk about this. Fran, at least, was almost jumping the gun on this subject. But Batwoman seems to have this tendency not to withhold key information from its audience or its characters. Huge plot twists that would, otherwise be dragged out through the season often turn out to be the match that ignites an overarching storyline. Which I personally find to be pretty refreshing, especially when compared to other shows within the superhero genre. So, how does that make you feel?
I think it's really cool because maybe in a bit of an arrogant way, because I've watched so many things, you kind of already feel like you know what's going to happen, and you kind of already think, okay, this whole mother-daughter thing is going to be a huge deal, it's going to be very melodramatic, blah, blah, blah. And then suddenly they reveal the plot twists instantly, and that's been happening since season 1. It's been really cool. I remember saying that was one of my favorite things when I was first watching the show. That really surprised me. So I'm glad they're keeping it up. I don't know if they're doing it intentionally. I don't know if in the writer's room they want to subvert the expectations of a normal show, or if they just like moving things along and they're not up for big dragged out storylines. Either way, it makes for a really cool watching experience.
Yeah, I think the pace this season is really cool. At the moment, they're not dragging things out. It seems like we're not getting filler episodes at least, which is always good. So it keeps it exciting. Every episode, there's at least going to be one big thing revealed to the characters, not to us, obviously. And it makes the audience not stupid, like it assumes we know, so the characters should know as well.
Yeah. They reveal it to us first, usually. And then we're always like, okay, this is going to be a huge thing, and they're not going to know for ages. But then they always tell the characters too.
It's nice when a show has a certain degree of predictability without ever compromising how satisfying it is to watch it. Because, a show could easily get boring if you can predict what's going to happen like 5 episodes ahead. But with Batwoman, you think you know what's going to happen. You're probably right, but it's not going to happen when you expect it to.
Exactly. Like, I thought this storyline was going to take at least like a couple, maybe 3 more episodes or something. And then suddenly, okay, it's revealed. They already know their mother and daughter.
It's really refreshing to watch. Like you said, after watching a million superhero shows, mostly older ones like Arrow, like the Arrowverse ones, they dragged it out so much. So this is a really nice way to tell the story.
Yeah.
Batwoman has, I think, kind of combined the two worlds. Like, it's going to be a good show for drama and for plot twists and things like that. But then also, the arcs are always exciting and different, and they always bring something different. It's never exactly like you expect it to be. And I feel like it's that added element that makes the show better than the other one.
We couldn't finish this episode without talking a little bit about Wildmoor.
Yes.
Of course.
Other than Alice, Sophie is still the only character who's in on the whole situation between Ryan and her mother. And, Sophie has proven herself to be quite the shoulder to lean on. She's provided Ryan with some very great and level-headed takes in this episode, I think, to help her get through this new chapter of her life. So, the secret that they share for now will undoubtedly play a role in growing closer together this season. So, I have to ask, are we ready for Wildmoor?
Yes. The last scene was really nice. Sophie comforting Ryan was really nice. And I love that they have that secret, even though, like we talked about, we know it's gonna cause trouble because Luke and Mary are gonna find out and be pissed soon. But for now, it's something that connects them and it helps them get closer and explore that maybe romantic part of the relationship. I don't know. But for now, I want a slow build. Like, I don't want them to get romantic. Unless it's like a one-night stand. I'm not ready for them to be a couple right now. I think Ryan has a lot on her plate now, so I like that Sophie's just being a helpful hand right now. And then we'll see, but I think it's interesting.
Yeah, I want to see it simmer. I don't want it to go straight to boiling. Let it simmer for a bit, let it sit, let us get used to it. I mean, we are already pretty down with the idea, but there needs to be a lot, more substance there before they get into anything, especially with Sophie and Ryan having been at odds last season. I need it to be like progressive. I need that build up, and then we can get there.
Yeah, like you guys have been shipping them for a really long time, but I have to say, this was the first episode, especially the scene in the rooftop, where I felt it.
Yay!
Finally. Because obviously...
Success!
We got you on
Yeah,
board,
obviously,
finally.
like aesthetically and in terms of contrast, they work as characters, but I hadn't felt the chemistry between actresses. And I feel like that's the main thing for ships for me. Because like, see Mary and Luke, they've never had any romantic scenes either. They've only ever been friends, but the chemistry between the actors jumps out at you. Like, from the first moment that they started to work together, I felt like they wanted to make out, and that's not in the script. It wasn't like, Luke's taking his shirt off and Mary's going gaga. No, that has never happened before. This was the first time. From the start, I felt that the actors just have that chemistry. And that sometimes writes ships for itself. Like sometimes writers don't even plan to make characters a couple. But then actors work so well together that it just happens naturally. With Wildmore, it might have been the opposite in the sense that maybe the writers have planned to make them a thing all along. I just wasn't feeling it between the actors. And this episode was the first time where I felt something like sizzle between them. So for sure, I would be into it, especially if it gets a bit more sexy. If the one night stand things happens, I would be all for that. And then them eventually dealing with their feelings that might arise from that and becoming a couple and being really healthy for each other and being the people that they've always needed their entire lives and never had.
I think that storyline would make sense the most, because I don't think Ryan would willingly, and Sophie, like, get in a normal relationship now, but I think it will eventually happen because they're getting super close. So yeah, I would write the one night stand. I think it makes sense the most.
And Frank, going back to what you said about feeling it more now, I think it's funny because I was watching Married to the Real's reaction to the episode yesterday while preparing for the podcast. Shout out to Trey and Tasha, we love you. And Tasha asked, what's up with Sophie's character this season? And Trey said, they're gonna be a thing, that's what's up with her character. And I think that's kind of how you are feeling, Fran. In the sense that, you're never against it, but you really see it this season, and you see that it's intentional now.
Yeah.
So I think that's fun, and I think, there are some people that share that perspective, and I think it's completely valid,
Yeah, I'm just excited for Alice to make jokes about how Sophie's into women in costumes, in bad costumes.
Oh, that's coming up.
I'm gonna love that.
She definitely has a bad kink. She has a bad kink, and Alice is gonna use that.
Who doesn't love an uniform? Well, then I guess that's it for today, guys. Make sure to join us next week for new commentary on Freeze, Batwoman's upcoming episode. You can also participate in this discussion by following us on our socials at Arkham_Archives, both on Twitter or Instagram, or through our YouTube channel, Arkham Archives Podcast. We hope you enjoyed your stay, and we'll see you again next week for a brand new appointment. Bye!
Bye.